Neptune Reef guy here. I wanted to talk a little bit about live rock today. So as you can see right here, kind of behind this little yellow submarine, I've got purple rock. That is 7 years old. It has come from one of my other systems. It's aged. It has all the good bacteria. And for saltwater tanks, the live rock is really your natural filtration of the system. It's going to house all of that good bacteria that's going to allow your tank to be able to process a lot of the bad contaminants in your tank. You've also got what I showed you in my last video. Some people run sumps, some people have different types of setups to help kind of filter out those bad pollutants. But live rock is really one of your major sources of pollutant removal. Now on this tank, because I've upgraded and I sized up, I also have dry rock that I've put in here that will soon become live rock. Now, when you're starting out a tank, and you put this dry rock in, you have pretty much no good bacteria. It's just kind of dead rock. And so as a year comes on and stuff, your rock will start to turn purple or start to turn a coloration that is healthy, and it'll show you, hey, I'm getting some live rock here, and that shows a more mature tank, and you can add more fish. And one of the biggest issues is when we first start out, a lot of us, we start out with rock that looks like this. Now, when I started out, my rock, how this is all white, all my rock looked like that. And then I was able to go to my store and I was able to get a piece of purple rock. And when I put that purple rock in there, slowly all my rock turned purple. It's really cool to get to watch that. And so I also wanted to talk about this dry rock. I've epoxied this dry rock. So this is not one single unit. I think one of the biggest things that we want to do, I think a good piece of advice is, one of the things I didn't do when I first started was epoxy my rocks. So like when you're cleaning your tank, if your tank kind of shakes or whatever, you get a rock that falls, and that's kind of annoying. And so what I did was I engineered this. I stacked kind of a look that I would like, and what I did was I epoxied parts of the rocks. So like right here, this kind of top arch right here, that's 3 rocks epoxied to each other. But when I set it on top of these other rocks, that's not epoxied. That way, if I ever break down this tank, say I move or I want to use this rock in a different tank, I can pick it up and I can easily move it. It's just kind of the thinking ahead aspect of your rock and stuff. But going back to the live bacteria, when you have completely new rock, putting in a bunch of fish when you don't have a good healthy bacteria system is not a good idea. I've got one fish in here. I got a 6-line wrasse. My kids, there's people that say do it, don't do it. People hate it, love it. She's aggressive. She's a pretty aggressive fish. I'll probably have to attempt to catch her and maybe put her in a separate spot when I add new fish. I don't know, we'll see. She did pretty well with her old tank mates, but for this, because of the fact that I have about 30 pounds of healthy live rock, I have half of this sand is 7-year-old sand. So I've got pretty much half a system in here that's very mature. And I also brought over probably 55 gallons of water that was 7 years old. So, I'm starting out a little ahead than people that are completely brand new to the hobby. But I brought my 6-line wrasse over. She's doing good. I run my salt at 0.25. I will have coral in this tank. I will set it up to have coral. That's why I've got my different shelf levels. And I have a light up here right now. This is not the light I'm going to use. As a light I brought over just so I could do this video. It's too small, and I don't know what kind of lights I want yet. I'm gonna get some good lights. I've never really done a good job with my lighting system, and this time I'm gonna do some research, and I'm gonna find some lights I like, and I'm gonna mount them and see where that goes, and I'll do a video with that too. But really today I just more so wanted to focus on the live rock and a maturing tank. Typically when I do my tanks, I do put a fish in. I understand, it's not that old 1970s, we're gonna sacrifice a fish, you give the tank a fish to sacrifice it or anything. No, she will live, my wrasse will live. I've always had these, when you get these more hardy damsels, they last, they live just fine typically, and they can deal with your sways, and this tank will have a nitrate swing. Typically that always happens with a brand new tank. You're gonna have, as it's just kick starting, but it'll have nitrate swings. But I'm a lot further ahead having this live rock. And if you can go to a store and kind of do a system like this, where you go and maybe you go online and you find a good deal on sand. I got really good deals on sand and on live rock. I was able to get it for a really fair price. I just kind of waited and looked around. Chewy had a great deal on the sand. This is the Argonite sand, and I believe that I think it's Caribbean. It's Caribbean that makes it. I get Aquarium sand. I think it's the smartest thing to do. I did think about play sand, but I understand the silicas and stuff, and I know that there's no guarantee that you're not gonna have silica in that sand. So just getting Aquarium sand, I know it costs a little bit more, but it just gives you peace of mind knowing that you're not putting silica in your tank and you're gonna kill everything, because it sure would suck to get this whole thing filled up, especially if you're doing RO water, which you should be doing. And you fill this whole entire thing up and it's got silica in it and stuff keeps dying. But yeah, so this is true Aquarium sand, and then I got a deal on the dry rock, and that was shipped in. But if you can do that and you can get dry rock for a pretty good price and put it in your tank, and then go to your local store and see if you can find some purple rock. Every now and then, if you've got a good store, sometimes people break down their tanks and they sell their stuff back to the store, and you can get pieces of dry rock, but you have to be careful. You got to look at the dry rock and make sure that whatever problem that tank had, you're not bringing into your system. So there's a lot of, it's not always the easiest decision to make. It's more of a decision that you have to make as a hobbyist and stuff. But I made that decision and it worked out good, and I haven't had any really bad stuff in my system. My fish, I haven't really had a lot of diseases. It's more of been, what's hurt my fish is more of been trying to keep too clean of a tank. Getting the purple goop all over and then trying to treat that, and that's really been a lot of my problem that I've suffered through in the past. I never really had an ick problem, and some of the other violet or some of the other types of diseases that can absolutely wipe out a tank, and you certainly got to be careful of those things. Like I said in my previous video, that's why it's so important to trust your store and to get a good relationship with a good store. If you walk into a store and it just looks sketchy, you probably don't want to buy your fish there. Also, ideal only, and I live near big cities, so I've kind of got the luxury of having mini stores that I can go to, but I deal specifically with a saltwater only store. They do not do any freshwater. It is an only saltwater store, and being where I'm at, I've got that luxury of being near a larger city, where I can drive in there and I can go to saltwater only stores. That's what their interest is. They don't sell fresh water. And if you have that ability, maybe go and hit up and look at your saltwater only stores. I'm not saying that you can't find good stuff. Some people maybe they live in a small area and Petco is their only option. And I get that, but if you get anything from Petco, make sure to quarantine. I'm not saying you can't buy it from there, but quarantine it, because it's coming right from the ocean. The fish is most likely not going to be in the greatest shape, and I've seen Petco and what they do with their saltwater stuff, and you got people there that really, they may not necessarily care about the saltwater world and what really happens. They're just moving a ton of stock. So you got to take that into account. So quarantine. But if you can find yourself a good store, it'll be good, and they can help you. So, but anyways, I know I kind of ramble on and I talk about different things, but that's a little bit about live rock, and I figured I'd share that with you today. So anyways, this is Neptune Reef Guy, out. Bye.